Hello out there, you fine math folks. I thought in this video I'd talk a little bit about the sort of things that you should be bringing to your competition. So things to note immediately are, I'm going to give you a list. You might think of some things that aren't on this list. In fact, if you do think of some things that you should be bringing to contests or that you in the past have brought to contests that aren't on this list, you can really help out a lot of people, potentially, if you leave a comment saying, yeah, I also bring this. Okay? But also, and this should be sort of done in your short-term prep, week of, 2 weeks before the competition, that sort of stuff. When you're double-checking, making sure everything's okay, you should be aware of what sort of materials are and aren't allowed. You don't want to get flustered when you get in there and your proctor comes and confiscates your calculator because, oh, I didn't read, there aren't calculators. I always use the calculator at home, but I forgot there aren't calculators allowed, that sort of thing. Or your cheat sheet gets confiscated, okay, that sort of thing. So do be aware that certain things are allowed for some competitions and not allowed for others, okay? But I would say the most important thing to bring is, a smile. No, the most important thing to bring would probably be pencils, erasers, pencil sharpeners, the basic writing implements. More so than making sure you got a calculator stuffed in your bag, or any of the other things, but do bring pencils, not just one, and not a tiny little one down worn to a nub, unless, maybe that's your lucky pencil. I'm not going to get into that. But plenty of pencils, plenty of erasers, and a pencil sharpener or two. I've actually had a pencil sharpener break on me. I do recommend the pencil sharpener, even if all your pencils are pre-sharpened, because you don't want to be, and this can happen if you're really stressed for the exam, which is something you shouldn't do, you should relax, but you can just press too hard and then suddenly it snaps and then your world is over because you gotta sharpen your pencil. And I think most of us have probably been in that situation where you've got a pencil and it's working fine, but just it needs that little bit of a sharpen to make it feel a little smoother and a little nicer. And even that can help you relax for the competition and make you feel more confident in how your writing looks and how your written solutions are actually going. Okay? Especially also pencils if you are writing sort of a multiple choice exam that has those Scantron sheets. You need a pencil to bubble that stuff in. They don't recommend pen. I don't recommend pen just because in math, we are incredibly prone to making mistakes. More so on a math contest where you're doing problem solving, people don't sit down and solve problems perfectly fine the first time. Plenty of examples on my channel of me trying to do a contest that even a simple contest that is well below my standard difficulty level, and I just don't see whatever it is the first time around. I got to erase. You can't erase pen. And if you start writing a solution in the formal booklet or whatever they've provided, and then you realize, oh, this isn't going to work, or oh, I don't have enough space, or oh, I forgot a case, you then are automatically sort of, this is all here, and I got to scribble it all out, and it just looks messy, and it does have a bit of a psychological impact. So pencils, erasers, pencil sharpeners, very important things. So some other things to bring: calculators, if they're allowed. 1 calculator is good. I've never had a calculator fail. 2 calculators can be okay if you're just the sort of worrying person who thinks, is my calculator going to fail? Do be aware some calculators are allowed, some calculators sometimes aren't. Programmable calculators, like the big ones with displays that you can actually program computer games on. Those sorts of things, graphing calculators, sometimes those aren't allowed. Usually your standard, which is the one I always keep with me on my desk, standard scientific calculator is probably for the best. It has all the neat little functions on it, like it'll do permutations and combinations and that sort of stuff, and exponentials really, really quickly. This isn't of use, say, if you're writing some of the younger year contests where you don't even know what I'm talking about, you've never even seen a cosine or anything like that. But scientific calculator is almost always a must when you've got them. Okay? And make sure it's a calculator you're comfortable with. Don't just go out and buy one the week of the contest when you're trying to get your materials together. Because some calculators, especially scientific ones, they might have sort of an input. Some of them have sort of how you would write the equation left to right is how you have to put them in, and some of them, the functions that they use require different orderings. You want to be comfortable and familiar with your calculator and how it operates, so that's really key as well. What else? I've never used them, but for people who like reading the questions and making sure that they have all the information, all their ducks in a row, and know exactly what's being asked, a highlighter can be quite helpful. I was never one for that, but then again, I'm also someone who had trouble reading the question and delivering what was asked for several times. So a highlighter might be good if you are someone who is in the habit of doing that. So if for tests and quizzes and stuff like that you've used a highlighter, or when you read a textbook you use a highlighter, you're probably the sort of person who would probably want to bring a highlighter with you. And those are usually never confiscated either. Speaking of things that are sometimes confiscated, scrap paper is a good thing to bring. Oftentimes scrap paper will be provided, but unless you know that ahead of time, always bring some blank paper. Be aware that some proctors will be suspicious that you're sneaking in a cheat sheet. So be prepared to be able to say, no, here, look at it. There's scrap paper, and it's all just blank paper, blank pieces of paper, blank lined paper. And if you're going to do that, be aware that sometimes it'll just get taken away from you, and it's not even allowed. Hopefully they will provide scrap paper, but if not, it's always a good idea to bring more stuff and have it taken away or told you can't use it than to show up and they say, well, we don't have scrap paper, so you'll sort of have to always do all your calculations on the side. That would be more of a disaster than somebody saying, yeah, we're going to have to take this ream of paper away from you. Okay? So that can sometimes get taken away. Other things that I have recommended in the past, small little wooden blocks. I recommend like little wooden blocks, little wooden tetrahedra, maybe a little wooden sphere, that sort of stuff, or dice. Little things that you can bring that sometimes are taken away because they're considered visual aids that are an unfair advantage. I don't see why that is. Sometimes just these things aren't allowed, but the reason to bring them is because if you're like me, you can sometimes have a problem with, on a 2D piece of paper, having trouble understanding the three-dimensional problem they're proposing. It's very hard to maybe even draw the picture for yourself. So having a tetrahedron or a cube or just a square-based pyramid around can sometimes mean the difference between even understanding and not understanding the questions. But again, those sorts of things, I've seen those taken away in the past. Okay, so be prepared for that. A ruler is a good thing. Now I say that, I don't think a ruler is quite necessary. Usually style is not a thing in contests, especially for written solutions. I'll talk about that when I talk about how to do written solutions. But I don't mean bring a ruler so that when you draw your axes for drawing a graph that it's perfectly exact. No. Bring a ruler in case, for your own purposes, when you're trying to get a handle on something, you have the straight line that you need. In the absence of a ruler, just using the piece of paper as an edge, putting the one piece of paper over the other and then drawing along, that can sometimes work. But bringing a ruler means you don't have to worry about that. Another good thing would be a protractor for drawing angles. But again, when you do a written solution with, if you're drawing a diagram, no one's bringing out a protractor when they're marking those to check did you do something super exact. Scissors can be good. They tend to go hand in hand with scrap paper in case you want to cut out some triangles and try and rearrange them on your page. I'm having trouble thinking of exact examples of questions where you might need them, but in the past I have written contests where I thought, oh, it'd be really nice if I could just cut out a couple of these shapes and put them together and see how they work. So scissors can sometimes be helpful, but that's something else that can sometimes be taken away. Not even just because somebody thinks it's unfair, but just because sometimes people consider scissors to be a weapon. Safety scissors would probably be the best way to go about doing that. They're safe and they're small, so they won't take up a whole lot of space in your bag. What else? A couple other writing implements. Thick black marker can be quite good, just to help you out. And I've used it in the past, I think with a video that I've already got posted, of a question where it had sort of a reflection and rotation sort of thing, and I was able to draw in thick black marker and then hold it up to the light and see on the other side how the letters read out. It was a question, I think it was on a Gauss, and involved the word stop being rotated and then reflected. The black marker actually really helped me on that one. Other writing implements that are good to bring, so we got highlighter, we got pencils, obviously, thick black marker is good. Colored pencils are great as well. Not so much, again, for neatness of diagrams, although that can certainly help. Penmanship, as I say, doesn't usually count. But even just helping yourself arrange on your scrap paper, on the diagrams that you're drawing for yourself to figure out the problem, colored pencils can work. I've used red and blue and black pens in the past, but never for my write-up. Always pencils for writing up things. Just having other colors can visually help you see something that you might not have just using your regular drawings. Okay. Is there anything else I can think of that would be good to bring on a math contest? I can't think of anything. I've run through the list that I already have up here on my computer. I'm just trying to think if there's anything I could add, having now discussed it. And I don't think there is. I think I've pretty much exhausted the list of things that I can think of. So that's my list. Again, if there's something that you use that I haven't mentioned, feel free to leave it in the comments, and maybe you can help some people out as they prepare for any upcoming competitions. Okay? So I'll see you guys in the next video.